So for me, I guess it's been for about 60 years of practice, started in 1960. And we started to study the Lakapatara Sutra. And I was really happy about that. Uh, Before someone mentioned to me that we should study it, and I took a look at it, and it was so dense and thick, I put it down. Can't understand it. But the one that we have translated by Red Pine is very palatable. It's like ordinary language, but still dense and profound. So why I'm happy about this, studying this, is that it's a culmination of my entire 60 years that I'm going in the right direction. Uh, Lanka, Patara, Lanka means you can't get it. There's no way you can get it. And we should really know that because we're always trying to grasp something, grasp it and grasp something outside of ourselves. That's why we can't get it. It's pretty simple, huh? Because since we were newborn and we were being breastfed, all of it, that is over there. So the oneness was separated. The child, the womb, which is the oneness, and then the child was separated from the mother. And then from that, education, tradition, conditioning, everything's outside the self. We're looking out. That's true. And I don't know where I read this, but ekohensho means prior to thinking. Or ekohensho is turn the light, and not the way you're conditioned or accustomed to, but this way, turn the light. In other words, turn your awareness or focus this way to the mind source. If you ever look at your mind source, that's what you're doing. You're looking at your mind source, where all the thoughts come from. And what is life of thought? It appears, it stays, and finished. That's a life of thought. And so for some people, maybe that thought lasts one day, 1 week, or 1 year. Or for some other people, maybe an instant. That duration, the life of that thought is finished, completed. Then there's another thought. But when you start looking at the mind source and you teach yourself breathing, because the breath controls the mind controls the body. So looking at the mind source, which you never have, or we don't know who we are, looking at the mind source and breathing with it. Like the breath controls the mind controls the body. So I was, when I read Hakuin's Yasin Kana, he was a very illustrious Zen master, Rinzai tradition. And in those days, 18 years old to maybe 20, 21 years old, they threw themselves into Zazen. Actually, they were our heroes because they died for us. They actually threw themselves in Zazen and they got consumption. What's consumption today? Tuberculosis. So Hawkman, after one of his first realizations, he got tuberculosis. So he could not sit anymore. All he could do was just lie on the ground. And in his story of Yasin Kana, he tells a white lie that he went to visit a sage who maybe was a couple hundred years old, who lived in a cave, and he taught him how to cure himself with introspection meditation. But actually, he's just telling a story. But actually, he cured himself of tuberculosis. That was, I don't know when Hawkwind was, like 1700 or 1600, something like that. Uh, there was a doctor when I was giving a similar talk, got up in the audience in Shambhala, Berkeley, and says, "You mean that you're telling us that to breathe this way to cure tuberculosis?" I said, "I'm saying to adapt it to our breathing, and there's a lot in breathing." So he describes it as he laid on the floor. He called it Tanden Kikai. Tanden. Tan is essence. Den, the kanji is a square, and it's cross in the middle. It means field. Humanity's field of essence is 2.5 fingers beneath your navel. And then Ki is like Tai Chi, spirit, vitality, vigor, vitality. Ki, Kai is ocean. The ocean of vitality exists in the Tanden, and that's what ancient have. So one exists within the other. So that is the PowerPoint we concentrate on. There are other PowerPoints here. We stimulate the right in between the eyes. When we offer incense, we do that, and not the heart, but somewhere in the chest. Those are 3 PowerPoints. So we focus on this one. And I focused on this for a long time, many years, but I forgot the back to the front. So you imagine yourself breathing through 12 places. The liver and the kidneys is the back. You breathe, and as soon as you start breathing this way, your thinking will be diminished. You have to try this. You have to try it. But you can only believe me if you do it and you see the benefit from it. Not many teachers talk about this kind of breathing, but I'm adapting it to our breathing in life. So you imagine yourself breathing through both the back and front, and your diaphragm begins to fill up. Okay, it's full, and then when it's filled all on the inhalation, you push down. And if you're sitting, you would say to yourself, my self nature, this is meaning your true nature, is in my rear as you're guiding the breath down. If you could say, my true nature is in my rear, my true nature is on my knees, and my true nature is to the bottom of my feet. And then that's the end of the exhalation, and you push down on the foot, make accent, and exhalation finishes. So something similar is when you gasho, and we should know this, that the gasho, I say, is the best gesture of humanity, because everyone does it. A sportcaster, your friend, when they emphasize truth, will put their hands together. You know, they put the opposites together, back together, that has been separated. And so we do the same thing. It's celebration, the palms coming back together. And as we, in our training and practice, as we see each other walking on the road or across Zendo, we gasho together. When someone gashos to you, you should return the gasho without hesitation. And you can only gasho on the exhalation. That's the beginning of action, doing something. And as you end the gasho, the end is very important. When you finish gasho, you're thinking mind to stop. Yeah, let's try it together, okay? We see each other. Okay, on the exhalation, gasho. Exhalation, slow, slow. Until you get to the end, you're thinking mind stop. Then you come up with that awareness. Is it true? Huh? See, it's not difficult. Thinking mind stop, and actually your thinking mind has stopped many times on the exhalation, bowing, uh, picking up action on the action. It happens. Or yoga, when you're cleaning on the exhalation, you turn it. You have to work with your breath. So yeah, there's a lot to say about the breath. Your exhalation is your compassion breath. It's your strength breath. It's your giving breath. It's the breath of surrender. When you die on the exhalation. But through training and practice, you know where you're going. So I think Suzuki Roshi had a friend, and he had a heart attack. So he kept on breathing in, because when we breathe in, we think we're alive, right? But he forgot to breathe it out, so he died. In, out, in, out. So the exhalation and inhalation is very important. And then you think about how many times you exhalation during zazen. How many times you exhale during the day. And the Zendo is like a laboratory, so you can practice that. Anyway, where are you practicing when you're sitting? I ask you that. Are you practicing entertaining yourself? There are different kinds of people. I remember Norm Stiegelmeyer, he was an artist, and I asked him what he did. He said he imagined his paintings, the next ones to come. That's not sitting. That's not what we're here for. Okay? So when your mind wanders, and it will wander into it, the mind becomes extremely focused. And as you train, it's not a practice, it's training. As you train that way, it'll be natural. You can summon it upon will. You can make it happen by will, but not your ego will, your Buddha will. It will come. But so we have to train that. There are four things in all the sutras. Well, first is emptiness, or you could say suchness, doesn't matter, it means the same. Emptiness. Second one is non-arising. Third one is non-dual. And the fourth one is no self-existence. Those four run through all the sutras, and you should know each one of them and what they mean. All the sutras are to glad people's hearts, to free them from suffering. That's what the sutras are. Even the meal chant, when someone gives me the meal chant, I bow to it because Buddha's name is in there in 10 different ways. Buddha was the greatest human being on earth. And that seat that you're sitting on is called the diamond seat. They call his seat the diamond seat underneath the Bodhi tree. But that Sattva is the diamond seat. And that's how he attained his great awakening, on the seat. And that's what we're doing. That's our practice. So you think about emptiness. We talked a lot about emptiness many, many years, 30, 40, 50 years. Now, these are the principles behind what we're trying to do. Emptiness, non-arising. is non-arising. Non-dualism, and the last was no self, no self-existence. You know, in some of the ceremonies, there was these Buddha's Bodhidharma one mind precepts, and it has 10 precepts, but it's beyond ceremony. It is the essence of ceremony. It says the first one. It says self nature. That's your self nature. Self nature is reality. Is is reality. And they don't say your. They just say self nature is inconceivably wondrous in the everlasting Dharma, not raising a view of extinction. It's called not killing. The real precepts don't say do not kill. This is the one mind precepts. It's different than a bad and good. I like I like this one. Number 9. Self nature is inconceivably wondrous in the Dharma of no self. Not contriving a reality of the self is called not being angry. Because you have no self, there's no anger. And that's what we're doing, or we're not doing. So, in the Lakvatara Sutra, uh, it used to be called Sri Lanka. Sri means something sacred or holy, Sri Lanka. And Lanka, you cannot grasp because we're looking on the outside. We're always focused on the outside. We're not focused on the mind ground, where it comes from. Okay? Uh, so they stress a lot. Oh, it's a dialogue between the Buddha and Mahamati Bodhisattva. And the dialogue actually covers all the religions in the world. Like Christianity and Hinduism, with Brahman, the same principle, creator. It's really interesting. And any question you could even think of is in this book. That Mahamati has the privilege and honor to ask the Buddha. It's all a question, and Buddha graciously answers. It's really wonderful. Any question you have in mind is answered in a very simple way. And so there's like 3 realities that people live in: imagined reality, dependent reality, and perfected reality. Imagined reality. This is a Yogichara school of the 3 modes of reality. It represents the net of delusion upon and perceive what we see and what we think is real. Yeah, I like the word net because net cannot be formed without its holes. So also, it's an opposite. But we think opposites fight each other, but the holes and the net, the string of the net, they go together. So we should not be overcome by opposites because they work together. You can't have one without the other. So imagine reality. There's an analogy about the snake and the rope. Most people, I'm sorry to say, but probably 90% of the world population, or maybe even more, see between the snake and the rope. They always see the snake. They'll never see the road. It's really uh, a pity, a great pity. That's imagined reality. Second one is dependent reality. And dependent reality is something that doesn't exist by itself. Actually, nothing exists by itself. Uh, Interdependent. In America, we have independent. In the Buddha Dharma, we have interdependent. So America has a long way to go because we strive for independency, which makes our ego stronger and our separation to reality even much, much more so. But interdependency, Thich Nhat Hanh, he was using the word here as interbeing. And I said, Thich Nhat Hanh, you can't use that word because people won't understand. But he did not was you kept using the word interbeing, but that's an interdependency, interbeing. Okay, then you have dependent reality. Jisho, Ji is self, Sho is self nature, like we just read in the precepts, the one mind precept. Jisho means also reality, and Shwabhava means Jisho, self nature. And dependent reality is again, it's interdependent with everything, and it's nothing can't exist by itself. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but people have made it into things can't exist by itself. They've separated themselves from reality. In all the media, your school, in fact, echo hencho is the innate function of humanity. And it's prior to thinking, prior to discriminating, prior to learning, prior to expecting, prior to knowledge. Prior, it's interesting. That's all the things we've been taught in school. Echo Hancho, and that's the light, because we shine our light outward all the time. In Zazen, you should shine into the mind source. That's a whole subject in itself. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that tomorrow. Shining on your mind. So, how do you do it? How do you do all this? Okay. Um, yeah. So I like the explanation in this in the footnote. Okay. Not your dependent reality, because you know everything is connected, right? And actually, I love this explanation. Uh, Dependent reality, again, referring to the snake and the rope, okay, is also a misperception. And why is it a misperception? Because as it is an arbitrary designation, the word snake and rope. Everything is an arbitrary designation. It's a name. It's not real. And therefore, it's a misperception, another misperception. So you have imagined reality, which most people see the horns on a rabbit, and then you have the dependent reality where you see, and this is a little bit better, but it's the same misperception because you see the snake and the rope, and those are arbitrary designations, meaning not real, meaning no meaning, because we have not seen emptiness. That's the key to everything. We have to, it's the direct direct and personal realization of Buddha's knowledge. This is Lankavatara Sutra. Your personal, your direct, well, direct personal, your personal realization of Buddha's knowledge. That's that's what we have to see. And when that's missing, everything is not real. Isn't it interesting, isn't it? Arbitrary designation, just name, doesn't mean anything. The name has no reality because we have not seen the essence of the name, of the form. When I read that, I just loved the explanation. This is kind of interesting. Huh? Isn't it interesting, everyone? Arbitrary designation, it's just a name. It has no reality, and that's what most people live on. Okay, the sutras is all the sutras are written from compassion to gladden people's hearts and to have them live a full life, to enjoy their lives, not when they're just young, but when they before they even die, to enjoy a full life. That's what the and to help people enjoy the same thing. That's the most important. And now we come to dependent reality. This is the third one. And again, it's realities, Jisho and Swabhava. They all mean reality, dependent reality. And dependent reality is a matrix of interdependency. Again, there are things dependent on each other. The snake and the rope. And what do you think someone in the audience in our great assembly, what do you think dependent reality sees as a snake in the rope? What is their perception? Huh? Dependent reality? And this is pretty good because it understands the reality matrix of interdependency of all things. And it's also called perfected reality. So it must be good, huh? Okay, it's the same thing again. It's another arbitrary designation of self-existence. There is neither self nor role. Isn't it interesting? There's nothing. And then because there's nothing, uh, it's just not a void. And then we see the reality of all these things. All these things that were the reality of the table. But we also appreciate it and use and work with them. Our relationship is completely different because there's the life of this table. There's the life of water. Even like in TV, you see these ads, these people picking up paper on the beach and cleaning. Good job. But actually, we're to prevent things like that, not to go pick up the paper. Prevent the ignorance of that. Who caused it? We did. And that's what we're trying to see what reality is. Makes sense, huh? All that stuff in media is terrible because it wants you, it stirs up your greed, anger, and ignorance. There's nothing good to say to you. Okay, so the snake in the rope, isn't that great? I think what I'll do, I just, I'm not using the word practice much anymore. I'm using the word training. Actually, that's what we're doing. But when you ask people what are they practicing, they give you a very not clear answer because they don't know themselves either. So I put down training slash practice. Okay. Um, there are five and probably a little bit more different kinds of training. There's shugyo. Shugyo is common for Zen people, and they use that as practice. You know, everyone uses the word shugyo. What do you do? I practice that. But what it should mean that shugyo should be you're training or practicing what? This is very important. You could sit for 10, 20 years and not accomplish anything. I've seen this. Training, it's discipline, it's action, it's study, it's preparation, it's conduct. Training, but not for the small mind. You're not training the small mind. And then there's a shugyo. Shushu is the training of how to unify the scattered mind. The scattered mind is skandhas that we chant in the Heart Sutra that makes up the incomplete self, right? Form, sensation, perception, discrimination or memory, and consciousness. When those five interact, when they combine, it makes up the incomplete self. So when you're practicing or training in Zazen, those five are held apart by not doing anything. You don't know you're even doing it. That's the best. Because the essence of Zazen is non-arising. You don't do anything. And once in a while, thought will come. Maybe once in 40 minutes. That's what clarifying the mind is. Bodhidharma sat for 9 years, and it's a contemplating mind. It means clarifying the mind. In the old days, before you used your calculator, before the iPhone came out, computers, we said to each other, you have to clear the calculator. That's exactly what we're doing. Clear the calculator, clear your mind, meaning clarifying the mind, looking at its mind source with the breath. Is that new? Huh? There's a little bit more instruction, huh? Okay. So, shushu. And it was interesting for me because the late Bunchu, when Yose and I visited him many years ago, before we left from his temple, he handed me some rice paper with the Heart Sutra on it. And then, just as I was going to leave again, he handed me another Heart Sutra. And I didn't really look at it carefully, but the first Heart Sutra, and they make them in panels, for so many panels per screen, was his sketch, because he was trying to get how many characters on one panel and how it will fit. And he did it real fast. It's almost like shorthand. And then the other Heart Sutra is in the Genjo building. You'll see you'll see the shorthand, and you'll see he was a great calligrapher. You can tell by the strokes. Anyway, the five skandhas means creating, when they interact, it means the cluttered mind, the scattered mind. That's what most people have, scattered mind. But in the kanji, it's written 5 bundles. Now, how do we get bundles out of scattering? So if Chinese and Japanese say 5 bundles, because every opposite has its opposite. So when it's scattered, if you do nothing, it will bundle. But that's hard to do nothing. That's what Sesshin is about, non-arising. When you don't do anything, everything's accomplished. Because we're always trying to do something. Non-arising, clarifying the mind. So isn't that kind of interesting to find bundles? 5 bundles and then the 5 skandhas. It's the same thing. So every opposite, it can't be an opposite unless it has the other. Because it has the other, it frees, it makes them one. It makes them dissolve. It doesn't make the conflict. And that's what dissolves and resolves them by not doing anything. And people are already, because it's not outside yourself, you have it within yourself, it's already being dissolved. That's why people like to sit, but yet they have yet to realize what they have not done. It's the opposite, what they have not done. Yeah. Or if they don't realize, maybe the teacher will say, "You did it." It was probably true. You all did it already, but you didn't realize it. That's all. That's the difference. Because it's within each one. Each one is endowed with it. Okay. So that's the second. Shugyo. Oh, there's a Jishu. The Jishu is like formless emptiness is pretty not too difficult to do. But emptiness is form. That is hard. Because that's when you're having diarrhea and applying emptiness to the diarrhea. Form is emptiness. I mean, that's a bad example, but I don't want to make it sound bad. The worst, the hard things, emptiness is form is more difficult than form is emptiness. Form is emptiness, you can get away from it. You go, you get away from the dirty stuff and become good. But now it's the opposite. That is the hard part. So we have a jishu. A jishu means it means practical application. Like you're applying. You're applying. I try to apply it to when I'm using the computer. I like some incense. That's 20 minutes, and I try to when I log on to press in the center of the key because when it doesn't come out right, I'm not there. But to try to apply, you have to apply like oryoki. In the Soto school, there's no other school that has oryoki. And it's these utensils and claws that have a life, and you have to find that life in the inanimate. That's applying the teaching to the inanimate. You have to find a life of a piece of toilet paper, a speck of dust when you go bend down to pick it up. You and that speck is equal. You're not bigger than the speck of dust. It's pretty interesting. Completely different way of looking at things. So to apply it, so when you can apply it to oryoki, how you eat oryoki, how the bowl is, these are all tracks for the mind. How you hold a bowl, how you don't start bending over to eat like you used to do at the table, and one fist is held like this, and you don't even know it. You relax, you know. study. It's a study of yourself. The Dharma is a study of the self. And then the Orioki, the cloth folds itself just like in tea ceremony. The cloth, I witnessed the cloth folding itself. And I said, I would like to learn that magic. Because she wasn't there. The person, the ego person was not there. That's why the cloth folded itself. And when you're not there, butterfly will land on your toe. If you're there, the butterfly will never land on your toe. Because Professor Gomez said to me, how come the butterfly lands on your toe and doesn't land on my toe? Well, you know why. I mean, not that I'm proclaiming all the butterflies going to land on my toe, but because there's no self. There's no self that's happening. But we're not aware of it. Okay. And then so the life of a piece of paper, a speck of dust goes to the car you drive, goes to the tools you use, the dirt you pick up. They all have the same nature as you. You're working it and it's working you. You're not working it. It's working you. Okay, that's Jishu. Shuren is another training metaphor, and it's the blacksmith. And now, Shuren, it's like you can only hit one spot that will make what the blacksmith is interested, will make it work. Only one spot. No matter how you, this is like a different paths. No matter how you do this, or no matter how you do this, no matter how you do this, how you hold it before you hit it, it can only be hit on one spot. That's our training. That's our practice. Just one spot. The blacksmith. And then what's the fifth one? There are a few more, but Shuyu means nourishment, nourishing a young person, nourishing like a teacher nourishing his students, or father mother nourishing. Jishu. So Shushu is unifying the scattered mind. Shuyo is the common word for practice, but it has to do with training, discipline, action, conduct, study, culture, preparation. And Jishu is a practical application wherever you are. Shurin is the training metaphor for blacksmith, and Shuyu is nourishing, raising someone. Yeah, I think that's enough, but you can ask some questions if you like.
Well, what were these five? What literature are they from?
The five skandhas?
No, the Shukyo and these five practices. Yeah.
Pardon me?
Five practices. Yeah.
Oh, the five, what were they?
Yeah, where are they from? What literature?
Oh, it's Sasaki Roshi's book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, about the Tathagata. Yeah, it's a small book. I think you can only buy it Rinzai Zenji.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question. Can you say something more about the point of the blacksmith with our breath? Is that
The point of the blacksmith.
blacksmith apply to the practice of breathing zazen.
Yeah. Well, the spot is no thinking. That's when you hit it. Just breathing. You have to really try it. And that's what will happen. Because it's completely different breathing than how we exist. Yeah, that's the one spot. Nope, no thinking. Mm,
Jisho
Jishu.
is the same like Jisha?
No,
No.
no, they're completely different.
Ah, okay.
Jisha is an attendant. What? Jishu. Oh, Jishu is the practical application. Jishu of the Dharma. Okay. Yes.
Um,
Your name is
Rayon.
Ran?
Rayon.
Okay.
One thing I've struggled with is bringing in the teaching of no self and also the intimacy of the relative and the absolute.
Yeah, you have to talk louder.
One thing I've struggled with is bringing in the teaching of no self and then the intimacy of relative and absolute and sort of making sense of it in my practice.
Yeah, it's a work to do. Yeah, and you can only do it on the cushion. Yeah, you can't think about it. But it is the personal realization of Buddha's knowledge. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.